You were at Giant Sports. Before that, though, the most infamous time was Gaspari Nutrition. And what were some of the funny stories? There was wasn't there one story where you had Rich's car in the rafters or something crazy like that?
Welcome to PricePlow.
All right, welcome to PricePlow. My name is Mike, and I am here with the infamous world-class supplement formulator, Bruce Kneller.
Giving me way too much credit, Mike.
World class, Bruce. World class. So
infamous,
right? Yeah. So we're gonna treat this like kind of a podcast style interview. Today is February. What is it? 20th ish.
22nd. 20. Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay. So it's late February of 2018, and Bruce wanted to fly here into Austin, Texas. So welcome to Texas.
The weather you guys have arranged for me is a little bit, leaves a little to be desired, but. Other than that, so far pretty good. We had a great barbecue last night. We met another guy from the industry, so far so good, man.
Yeah, and you brought some New Jersey over here. So, but Bruce does have a big announcement to make, so we want to cut right to the chase. And kind of what I wanted to do here is have you talk about your announcement, tell us what you're going to be doing in the future and what's going on, and then kind of get a little bit about the history of Bruce Kneller and kind of go backwards in time and get some of the good fun stories and
the fun stories,
the fun stories. Yeah, a little bit of the gossip that you could let go of. But then it doesn't need to be a negative drama. It could be just I know there's a lot of fun stories out there too. So I'm gonna see if we can beat some of those out of you.
Well, for those who don't know, I'm no longer with Giant Sports. I'm now working for Donald Trump and I'm building walls. But sorry about that. I had to do that.
And for those who listen to this on an audio podcast, he's wearing a Trump construction shirt.
Yeah, so. Building walls since 2016.
And the video has already been demonetized. YouTube loves it.
Right, they're gonna ban it, right?
Yeah, we're done.
Out of the two things I just said, one thing is true. I'm no longer with Giant Sports. I don't own any equity in the company, and I'm no longer an employee with the company.
You did own equity beforehand?
Yeah, I'm no longer with the company, and that's been since December 31st of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I want to preface all this by saying I left on great terms. It's a great company. The people that own it and work there are the best people in the industry. I can't say enough good things about Joe Babick. He and I have been partners for more than a decade now. He's like one of the nicest guys in the world. Pete Youngsberger, who's the other owner, you couldn't ask for a better friend in the world. Like literally, I can't think of anybody in the world that's ever been a better friend to anybody else than Pete has. The whole staff there, Helga, Jess, Rob, Eric. I'm missing a few people here, but I mean they're all world-class good people that are good with what they do. It's just that.
So all the positive things, why leave them? What's going on?
I haven't been happy for a while, and I guess money's less important to me than happiness is. I've got kids that are 5 years old. I've got twins.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to spend more time with them, and I want to go in a different direction. And if you've noticed, in the last year, Giant's really gone in a very different direction.
Yeah.
Okay. If you look at what they're selling now, it's less sports nutrition and more kind of weight loss and general health. And that's a good thing, I think, for them. I think that's a much better and bigger segment of the industry. It's just that it was a little too late. I'm not saying I pushed them in that direction. I mean, it was a team effort, of course, and whatnot. But
you pushed them in that direction.
But I've been harping on it for a while now, and I'm glad to see that they're doing it. I think they'll be hugely successful in that. As a matter of fact, I know some of the stuff that they're going to launch, and it's going to be revolutionary, groundbreaking stuff, not just run-of-the-mill general health stuff. Some of the stuff's really interesting. I mean, look at keto cocoa and keto coffee.
Absolutely, keto cocoa is the best low-carb product ever. So you formulated keto cocoa?
No, I worked on that with Joe Babick. What it was kind of like my idea. Oh, I don't really want to say that. It was a group effort. We were sitting around one day and we were talking about what kind of low-carb stuff would people like to have, and I go, well, people like to have a chocolate with no carbs in it. So, we had some material from Sensory Effects in the office, and we ended up saying, why don't we make a keto cocoa? Let's see how it works with hot water.
Mm-hmm.
So, the three of us kind of worked on it that day, and it worked out really well. Kind of like the same thing with keto coffee and some of the other, I guess, I don't call them eccentric, but a little different products that Giant does,
And so the ones that are coming out, though, those you are less and less hands-on, of course. And
right.
Okay, so they're moving on without you as well, but.
And they're going to be fine. I mean, people handle it fine.
So would you say that you wanted to get more into the diet sector and you kind of pulled the company in it and then you just left, or
No, it's not even that. It's just that I wanted to do more. I guess to say raw ingredients, and Giant really doesn't do that at all. I wanted to do that for a while.
What do you mean like raw ingredients, like a tub of beta-alanine, or
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
or do you want to like be a supplier?
I have some ideas for some new raw ingredients. Some of it is patent pending, and hopefully I'll get notices of allowance soon from the U.S. Patent Office. But I've wanted to do that. I think that's kind of where my future lies. I don't like sports nutrition. I really have a strong distaste for that, as we discussed off the camera.
So Bruce has been making it very clear that he's done with sports nutrition, and if the more you get into this sector of the industry, because this is really a small niche out of a very large supplement industry, out of even a larger nutrition industry and functional foods industry.
Right.
There's a lot of people who have their foot out the door out of sports nutrition, or they have like an exit strategy or something, because
oh yeah,
it's an industry that's kind of like churns through guys in their 20s and 30s, it seems like, and eventually,
and I'm going to be 50.
Yeah,
so
once
right.
you're 50, you're like, F this. And
Easier than I am, right?
Right, and so it's not surprising to hear that you can't be slinging pre-workouts into your 60s. Like that's just
and not be sane, right?
Right,
not saying that I am sane, but I guess the point is, we'll talk about this later when we do our segment with Josh Shaw about where the nutrition and sports nutrition industry is going. I'm not going to say it doesn't have a future. It always will be there. But the size of the sports nutrition industry, in my opinion, is becoming smaller, and the number of companies are becoming bigger, and FDA regulations are becoming more strict. So it's getting harder and harder to really make a substantial profit. And margin creep is just terrible. And not only that, the worst thing about it is, I don't really much like most of the people in sports nutrition. I mean, I got to be honest with you. I mean, I can count on both my hands the number of people that I would want to, maybe do business with. Most people I don't trust. Most people, I'm just being honest.
Yeah, no, that's why we're here.
Most folks are straight thieves and liars and cheats. And I'm hoping that, general health is a little different. Maybe it won't be. Maybe it's just the same thing with a different face. But I kind of aim to find out. Same thing.
So you are going to be going into general health, but wait, first, okay, give me one story of how you've been thieved from.
Well, I mean,
you don't have to name any names or brands or anything, but give me an example of how someone could thieve someone if you're working at a company, say like Giant Sports.
All right, I'll give you an attempted thief thing. I actually stopped the person from ripping me off. So as you guys know, I'm working on a new stem that I actually had before that.
And we took it before this video,
right.
And CJ and I are kind of starting to feel it. We're going to go and talk about that in a little bit. So subscribe to our channel and you'll find that eventually.
And it's patent pending. I didn't have the patent application published. Obviously, I don't want anybody to see what it is. So I've been trying to sort of pre-sell it, and I've told some folks about it. And I sent some samples out to one company, and it had my name and my
supplement company,
a supplement
the folks that run
a sports nutrition company.
Gotcha.
Let's be
yes, right.
And I got a phone call from a laboratory asking me for more stuff because they were trying to reverse engineer and analyze what I sent them after I was nice enough to send them a sample.
Of course they were.
Well, but I mean, that's the kind of shitbag thing that sports nutrition people do, right? So I mean, that was just one example. I've been promised money. I've had money owed to me contractually that was millions of dollars that I've been screwed out of. So I've just had enough. I think that for me, raw ingredients will sort of limit my exposure to certainly the sports nutrition people, and I'm also working. Well, let's back up a little bit. I've been looking to get out for a while. I mean, to be honest with you, since probably 2016. It's kind of when I decided I wanted to maybe do something else, albeit I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And I started poking around. At around that time, a good friend of mine, Rick Collins, who was the preeminent attorney in the sports nutrition. I mean, there's Rick and then there's everybody else. I mean, he's just I can't say enough good stuff about the guy. He's an excellent attorney and an even better friend. Rick kind of helped me get some speaking gigs with Informa, and Steve Myers, who's my contact over there, is another great guy. Can't say enough good things about that entire group of people, Alyssa Sanchez and whatnot. And they started getting me speaking gigs at Supply Side and things like that. And as I was doing these things, I found out that people actually wanted to hear what I had to say. I couldn't believe it. I was really stunned that 250, 300 people would show up for a lecture that I was doing.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really, it opened my eyes. And then after the lectures, we'd have people that would kind of I don't want to say mug me, but would come around and want to talk, or they'd see me in the hotel lobby and they'd want to know if I wanted to do business. So after going through this for about a year or so, it made me feel like I had some really important self-worth, and there was things that I could do for other companies on a consulting basis. Also around that time, there were some folks from overseas that were also coming to these events that wanted to break into, we'll say, the nutrition realm, but didn't really know how to do it or what they wanted to do. And unfortunately, they approached me at the Mandalay Bay at Supply Side West, right before the unfortunate shooting.
Right.
And they sat me down and bought me dinner and said, "This is who we are, and we'd like you to maybe come join us in some sort of a venture." I wasn't quite ready at the time. I was pretty close. And we went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And then a few things that I don't need to necessarily get into because they're sort of personal outside the industry sort of happened. And I decided, well, you know what, this is the time for me to do that. So a lot of people should have been seeing this, but I'm surprised they haven't because I've kind of been dropping hints on my Facebook page. But I went to Hong Kong to meet with these guys. And we started what is essentially a private equity firm. I mean, ultimately, that's what it is. There's 4 partners. We own a private equity firm. I'm a minority partner, and the goal is to make money in nutrition, mostly by selling products made in the United States along the Australasia rim. So, I mean, I can see a lot of stuff in the States here.
So the plan is with this group, you're going to make products in the USA, sell it in Asia, and then it'll have like made in the USA sticker on it or something like that.
Right. I mean, the idea is to develop like a famous brand here in the States on some level. I'm not sure how we're going to do that yet. Probably by punting stuff over to like some of the big distributors and retailers, so we can get some exposure and maybe putting some of the stuff on Amazon. But getting it so there's some demand over in Asia on some of the free trade zones.
But okay, yeah, but most of the ingredients come from China, right?
I would say outside of protein, almost all of the ingredients come from China.
So you're going to ship it from China, bottle it in America, and then market it back to Asia.
Well, it's a little more than that. We have to put it together and flavor it and put together products that people want. Okay, it's not just take it, dump it in a bottle, you slap a label on it, rinse and repeat. I mean, it's a little more complicated than that. But that's one of the things that I'm doing with them. And
that's like kind of like on the consumer brand side of things.
Right.
That you're doing with them.
And it's not going to be one brand. It's going to be multiple brands. And again, I want to emphasize, it's not America is not really a big focus. The West isn't. Certainly, Asia is. I hate to quote Barack Obama, but do I hate to quote Barack Obama? But it's kind of like a pivot towards Asia for me.
Oh, right. Gotcha.
Right, we're pivoting towards Asia. That's where I feel the nutrition market is best for people looking to make a decent return on their investment. And on top of that, it'll be very little to none sports nutrition. If you consider protein powder to be sports nutrition, then yeah, I guess I'm still doing sports nutrition, but most of it's going to be general health and things that
like vitamin D, joint supplements.
Yeah, stuff like that, like a glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM thing. The vitamin Ds are always big. The biotin, the soy lecithin, all the things that are popular, we'll say in mainland China and on the Pacific Rim.
Yeah, but there's, I mean, I can go online and look at 1,000 different vitamin D products. So like what would you do differently? Are they not being properly marketed to Asia, you think?
I think a lot of them aren't being marketed at all to Asia. How does that sound?
There you go.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I mean, if you don't, get it over there and market it, and have somebody on your team that speaks fluent Mandarin, you really can't market it to Asia. Okay. Things that I would do is I want to create value. I want to give bigger doses for less money. I want to have more, we'll say, units or servings in the can for less money. So I want to create value there for the consumer. And again, we can still maintain a pretty good margin by doing that. Another thing that I want to do is have full consumer transparency. I know some other folks like Mark Glazer are sort of doing that, and certainly Amazon's doing that. And
full disclosure in the label, or are you talking about like third-party lab testing?
Both. I want to have a label that's completely transparent. I've been fighting for that at Giant for a long time now, and I think it's a good thing for consumers. Plus, I want to have like a QR code on the label where you could scan it with your phone and it'll take you to a third-party lab that's done finished product testing on the product. So,
does anyone use these QR codes?
Or you could do it by. I mean, you get to the website any way you want.
Right,
okay.
Yeah.
I think the QR code is the easiest way to do it, but I mean there are other ways to do it. The point is, the information the information will be available for the consumer to see before they buy the product. If they're in a brick and mortar, or if they do get it, certainly right afterwards to scan with their smartphone or their handheld device and get a independent third-party lab analysis, so to show that we claim there's 5,000 IUs of D3. And it really meets or exceeds that. And one of the things we talked about is I don't understand why other companies don't do this. By law, you have to do finished product testing, you know.
Right.
So if you're doing it and you're following the law, why would you not want to share it with the consumer that, hey, listen, we're doing what we're supposed to do by law, and our stuff meets or exceeds label claim?
Well, you didn't do it at Giant.
No, there were some reasons for that.
So yeah, what is a brand's reason for not doing that? Because I'm starting to ask this question. Like,
okay,
prove to me your product isn't made in a bathtub, or prove to me that it's what's on the label is in the bottle.
Right,
why is NutraBio the only damn company that's doing that?
The biggest problem you run into is once you start doing that, none of the commercial labs, or very few, I know Mark's got one, a lot of the commercial labs don't want to do business with you, because what happens is you get massive consumer telephone calls that like clog up their 800 numbers. They want to talk about, you know, so how did you test it? And what were the parameters? And this and that. So they don't want, once you tell them what you're going to do with it, or you do it once and don't tell them when they see it, they don't want to work with you anymore.
Right,
That's the biggest reason. The other reason why is they're just not doing the finished product testing. And I'm going to go on record here. I'm going to say most of the companies in the industry, certainly in sports nutrition, with the exception of a few, very few, are just not in compliance with the law. They're not doing finished product testing in any manner at all. They're not doing ingredient testing when the ingredients come into America. So you really have no idea what's in the in the bottle. That's a huge problem.
And we've seen this with certain studies that came out where these supposed DMHA supplements were like 5 out of the 6 of them were caught with 1,4 or 1,3 DMAA, and the trouble's coming because of that stuff.
Yeah, big trouble's coming. But you know what's funny? Before that was unmasked by Dr. Peter Cohen, you and I had some discussion back and forth.
Bruce, you called it. I will tell you. Now, you didn't specifically state those brands, but you knew. And like apparently, as someone who is actually doing the testing, you knew that a lot of this stuff coming in was not DMHA. And so,
oh, absolutely.
Kudos to you.
I mean, at least a year before the Cohen study was published.
The thing is, the thing is, okay, from my perspective, what was I to do with that information? I can't afford to do all these lab tests on every brand and everything, and so it's tough to the label does say DMHA, and we have to take the brand's word for it as let's say from my journalist perspective.
But you don't. See, if they're doing finished product testing, they should be putting that information out there. So, without sort of getting too far off into the weeds here and beleaguering the point.
True. Yeah,
okay, that's one of the things that I kind of want to do.
And so you're going to do that with these new brands that are going to be mostly aimed towards Asia.
Yeah, you can see them on Amazon. You might see them at, maybe at GNC. That might be a place that we might put them. I mean, I know GNC's has some financial problems, but I mean, they're still the big behemoth in the States.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about that this afternoon with Josh Shaw, industry consultant and everything. But yeah, so you did mention last night, having it on GNC.com is a good thing, because the Chinese may Google for it, and you'd just like to have a GNC presence.
Yeah, right. I mean, you're right. But again, we'll talk more about that with Josh, about marketing stuff like that, and why you would do something where you lose money just for the sake of exposure. But getting back to why I left. So yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to do something else. On the other hand, I'm actively working and have been with some, I'm not going to mention names, but I'll just say some pretty big heavyweights from ISSN, which is, again, like the preeminent sports nutrition and maybe even the most preeminent nutrition professional organization in the world. And we've been me and some people that are like heavy hitters in it have been working in a lab to create and come up with new dietary ingredients that are DSHEA compliant, and I want to get those to market as soon as I can. I want to get those production wrapped up. And I see, for me personally, just a lot more self-fulfillment doing that.
I have 2 questions. First off, what kind of ingredients are we talking about? Is this like the stimulant? And second off, is this, I'm not sure who I'm talking to right now, is this Bruce Kneller separately, or is this Bruce Kneller with these Chinese equity firm Hong Kong guys?
Well, it's both. It's Bruce Kneller separately, because anything that I had IP before I started this company with them is mine. But going forward, it'd be probably shared IP with them. I'm going to run it.
Right. Okay. So this ISSN stuff.
Right. I would. It's not ISSN. It's just people. Stuff. It's just people who are, we'll say preeminent, prominent figures in the ISSN.
Oh, in those groups and everything.
Right,
okay.
Yeah, okay. So you want to know where it's going? Yeah, the stem is mine. Okay.
Gotcha.
And that's going to be one that I'll figure out what I'm going to do with once I have it. Some sort of a notice of allowance for patent claims. But some of the other ones I'm working on, they don't have anything to do with sports nutrition. They're just general health, some amazing, say anti-inflammatories, antioxidants, just overall general healthy stuff. Some of them are more food stuff than strictly, stuff, something you'd see in a pill.
If we started Googling for you and Google Patents, are we going to find more stuff now?
Probably not.
Okay.
Okay. So I learned my lesson there too. I don't publish any of my patent applications anymore, because once you do that, people search your name, they see what you're working on, and they just steal it. So that's happened like way too many times for me. So I'm all done with that. But I'm looking for more general health for I mean, you can't make structure function claims like lowers cholesterol or is it's going to help lower blood pressure, but a lot of these things will have those kind of effects. And again, a much more older market, mature market.
Okay, so how does it work? Let's say you have a new ingredient, you have some sort of spin on omega-3 or whatever that has some of these beneficial benefits. What do you do next? Okay, I got this patent for this cool ingredient, and it's under your equity group, let's say this time. Now what?
Great. So
the
business plan is we need to find somebody to scale it up from doing small 1 or 5 kilo desktop, benchtop batches and scale it up to production level where we can make a lot of it and maybe bring the cost down and whatnot.
So it's a manufacturing facility.
Yeah, manufacturing facility needs to do that, and then you need to either put it in a finished product and sell it yourself, or bring it to the United States or elsewhere and either sell it yourself to other companies to put in their product or have somebody do that on your behalf.
Where does a brand like Compound Solutions or a company like Compound Solutions fit into something like this? Could they be someone that would sell it for you then?
Absolutely. It's funny you mentioned Matt. Matt, I've done some.
I didn't mention Matt. I mentioned
but
Matt is the
Matt Tidlow is the CEO.
Right.
A great guy, by the way. Like I said, done a little bit of work with him on a few things. He's a very easygoing guy, and he's definitely made a name for himself doing just that. And yeah, he's a guy that would market a variety of proprietary and patented ingredients to, we'll say, contract manufacturing companies and brands that want to have, something a little bit different or something a little cutting edge. So he'd be someone I would go to. I mean, there's tons of companies that, like Vitajoy is a company I've done work with. The owner of that company is an amazing guy. His name is Gudin. Probably one of the most honest people in the industry from a brokerage standpoint and a raw material standpoint. He just hired another good friend of mine, Casey Crane, who was with BSN for a while. Casey's the vice president of marketing and sales. And again, can't say enough good things about these folks. They're just some of the limited few people in the industry that I really like. So someone like that.
So you wouldn't plan on selling your ingredient yourself to every last small brand. You would like to have a broker kind of do that, or
I'm not sure yet. I'm not going to. Maybe yes and no. I mean, maybe I would have. Some of them might be more appropriate to have, like a Glanbia or a Horn distribute them because they can get, bigger reach than I can get myself. Other ones are going to be more niche, and I may want to have more control over the product. So I'll give you an example. This stem here that you took, okay. I'm going to be in full control of that. So I'm only going to license it to a few companies. And in addition to that, I'm going to set a dosage limit to it, meaning they can't go over a certain amount of milligrams per serving. I don't want anybody to get hurt.
So how would that work? You say, I'm only going to, you make them sign a contract. You can only use this patented ingredient that you can only get from me or whatever.
Right.
And you have to put it per serving 100 milligrams or whatever.
Right. You can't exceed 100 milligrams per serving. And if they did, that would be, a material breach of the contract.
Okay.
I don't want anybody to get hurt by anything. And I'm not saying any of these stims are dangerous or safe. I'm just saying that I want to be as safe as possible. And I've seen some pretty irresponsible dosing of stims, especially in the pre-workout realm, where you're just seeing monster dosages of caffeine, 300-400 milligrams, 500 milligrams of caffeine. Even with some of the PEA stuff, it's just getting to be a little too high. And part of that is because, the crackhead consumer sports nutrition people want these ridiculously strong, not necessarily safe or effective, but strong where they really feel it, pre-workout things.
And so is that you just getting old, or is this the caffeine trend has been going up? Like where does it end?
You're right. Where does it end? I think it ends with unfortunately people maybe getting hurt, and then you're going to see that's the worst thing that can happen. I mean, you don't want anybody to ever get hurt, injured, taking your product. But worse than that, the damage it does to the industry, it just makes the whole industry look terrible. Again, another reason for me to leave sports nutrition.
Right, and that's the way I'm starting to understand it, is like the greater supplement industry really, like sports nutrition is the redheaded stepchild that everyone hates or something like that. Like, we're just kind of causing trouble here. Now here's my kind of prediction though, and feel free to argue. The stem of yours is gonna get hot, and it's good. I like it, I'm feeling good. But it's gonna be popular, and it's gonna take up all your time, and it's gonna be your life, and you're gonna be stuck in sports nutrition again.
Well, I mean, the stem, I mean, maybe. I mean, the other thing I could just do if it got really busy like that is I could just sell the IP to, some other company and walk away with a big check, okay, and then I don't have to do it anymore.
Right.
I don't have to deal with the colorful mercurial characters that inhabit the sports nutrition realm. But for the most part, I mean, I can see what you're saying. I mean, I may get dragged back into it, kicking and screaming, whether I like it or not. If you have a product that's hot for some reason in sports nutrition, you obviously want to sell it in sports nutrition to make your money. But I'm really not going to focus as much time as everybody thinks. I would like it to be less than 15 to 20% of my time. Most of my time would be on creating new and exciting and DSHEA compliant ingredients for general health and nutrition overall. The rest of that should be building brands to send over to Asia and we'll say Australia and maybe Indonesia or India. That's all part of Asia anyway, and that's an awful lot for me to keep me busy for the time being.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's get back to kind of talking about Bruce Kneller then. What really is your end game? Is this your passion in general, or is there a certain amount of money that I can write you a check and be like, walk the fuck away right now? And
absolutely, but I'm not going to tell you what it is.
You won't? Okay.
I mean, like we've discussed this before actually. How much money do you need to, basically, put it into some kind of investment where you can live off of passive income? I mean, that would be my ultimate goal. I'm not too far away from it. Okay, but
nice.
I'd like to be able within...
Those two kids are probably bringing the number up a little bit.
And Daddy spoils them, so...
by the time they're in college, it'll be $500,000 for that alone. So.
Right, so that's I gotta plan on inflation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd like to retire eventually. I'm getting older. I'm one of the older guys in the industry now. I'm not the oldest. There's definitely people that are older than I am, but I gotta start thinking about, I need to, have some me time and some hobby and fun. Kind of
so you were at Giant Sports. Before that, though, the most infamous time was Gaspari Nutrition. And oh wow, okay.
Hey guys,
what's up, guys? And so I don't think it's any secret that you and Rich separated with bad blood. But what I thought was interesting is that when I was out there in New Jersey with you, and we were out drinking and everything, and you started telling stories, and all the stories were actually very good. I'm like, dude, you had a lot of good memories.
Yeah, I did.
You guys, in the heyday, the Big Blue,
right?
You guys were killing it.
Right.
You were having fun, and it seemed like obviously crazy things were happening and everything, but you seemed like you were having fun. What were some of the funny stories? There was wasn't there one story where you had Rich's car in the rafters or something crazy like that? Or?
We took his jet ski and we pallet wrapped it to the rafters. We would play all kinds of practical jokes on everybody. I mean, it was fun. I'll say this, okay? As time goes on, you forget about the bad stuff and you just remember the good stuff. I mean, Gaspari Nutrition was, for a while there, it was the biggest company going. It was an unmitigated success. It was the right time in the industry, and it had the right team at the time. And then, unfortunately, the industry changed, and some of the people that worked there, including myself, changed, and it wasn't right anymore. And
so you were a big piece of that puzzle. Were you formulating Super Pump 250, was that you? Was that...
rather than trying to take credit for everything myself, there's other people that are kind of doing that, I'm just going to say everybody there had influence on all the products, from the actual plastic bottle to the label to what's in it. I mean, it'd be very easy for me to say I did everything. Whether I did or not is really not fair. At the end of the day, I'd say the success and failure of the company stops with Rich. I mean, he's the CEO and president, so as much as anybody else would say, well, I did this and that's why it made money, I mean, he was the guy that had to pull the trigger or not.
Right.
So, I mean, all that happened, good or bad, ultimately is a reflection on his ability as a professional manager to handle it. So, and by the way, I mean, I wish all those guys there that were there when I was there, everybody, the best of luck. I hope they're happy with what they're doing. I hope they have a lot of success. It's going on a long time now, so, I mean, yeah, you're right. We left on bad terms. There's no reason why I'm going to focus on that anymore. I'm on to bigger and better things. I hope they are too. I don't think there's anything really to be gained by 8 years out after I left, or 7 years out after I left, to focus on the bad things or focus on negative experiences I may have had with certain people that work there. There's no benefit to me. There's no benefit to them. So, folks, if you're seeing this and you know who you are, seriously, all the best to you. I hope you're happy. I hope you're having a lot of success and are able to self-actualize with what you're doing. I mean, I've moved on, and I hope if we run into each other that we can be professional and polite and courteous.
Cool. Oh, thank you. Any good stories? Like, come on, something happened at a trade show. Come on.
Some of them.
What happened at the 2006 Olympia? Come on, something had to have happened.
So again, practical jokes were kind of a big thing. I mean, you know, Rich, like a lot of people, looked at the warehouse, the company, as an extension of himself, and he could store his own personal things there, which we know that's not true. You can't do that. The FDA had come in for a routine GMP inspection, and they noticed the jet skis, and they weren't happy about the fact that we had, you know, jet skis next to the Saison and the Super Pump. So they obviously, you know, dinged us for it. So, you know,
what does the ding mean?
They noticed it on the 483. They're like, listen, what do you got to do about the jet skis?
And you have to actually file like a corrective action.
Yeah, you have to you have 10 days or whatever it is to get back to them. We intend to remove the jet skis. And get them. I mean, it's just a nuisance, right? Yeah. So, you know, Rich let him sit there for another 6 months, and as much as like I was like beating on him and other people were beating on him to get rid of him, he wouldn't do it. So, you know, I gave one of the warehouse guys $100 to take the black pallet wrap, which they use for international stuff, wrap up Rich's jet skis and like and basically pallet wrap them to the girders. So he came in one day looking for his jet skis. Boy, was he was just blowing his top. Who stole my jet skis? And meanwhile, like he's like literally like right under him. He's talking, and the jet skis are above him, and everybody's laughing at him. And well, not at him, they're laughing because it's a hysterical joke. And he's getting angrier and angrier and angrier. And we finally let him off the hook, but he wasn't happy. Like, get him down. So that was things that happened. You know, obviously stuff that happens at like trade shows is a little bit more risque, so to speak. But I don't necessarily want to. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, maybe with their spouse, you know what I mean? So I'm not gonna. But I mean, you can imagine the Olympia, and I mean less the Arnold, but certainly Olympia being in Vegas. You know what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I mean, we had some pretty wild parties and times out there for sure. You know, that was the whole thing. The practical joke thing was kind of a big deal, and yeah, it was fun. We had a lot of good times together. I have a lot of really positive memories. You know, working there, and like I said, as time goes on, all of the bad stuff or the negative stuff seems to fade into the doesn't really matter, and I just want to remember the good things.
Excellent. All right, well, that's all we have for this one. So Bruce, no longer with Giant Sports.
And no longer with Gaspari.
And of course, no longer with Gaspari. Both of them still going strong, though. You can subscribe to our channel because Bruce and I have a bunch of more interviews. And then later this afternoon after lunch, we're going to bring in Josh Shaw, industry consultant. We usually have some really good email threads that happen. And we're going to talk about different trends happening in the industry. We're going to bring CJ in for a fitness one. Talk about this new stimulant, which... honestly, I'm almost jealous because I want to be talking during this interview because this stim is good. So
it's pretty good. See?
So yeah, check out the channel and everything, and we're gonna have a whole lot more. Bruce, thank you so much for choosing PricePlow to deliver
how can I choose anybody else? You guys are like the best. I mean, I've known Mike for a while. You know, we went to that Iron Maiden concert together.
Oh yeah.
And you know, the Barclays Center in New York. I mean, he's just the whole PricePlow team is really good. So you know, can't say enough good things about them. And definitely, if you're looking to buy something, stop at PricePlow first.
All right, thank you.
Welcome to PricePlow.